Wow. well, well. This did not take long at all. Shockingly. And I called this. I called this. Unfortunately, I did not put a phone call in to receive that call. But I called this. I said on my Saturday good morning walk, I said the Tories would spend the summer arguing about not only net zero and, of course, green policies. And already, Michael Gove has sped out of the gate in the Sunday Telegraph with an interview saying, as you can see from the title, that net zero cannot become a crusade. Meanwhile, William Hague, former Conservative leader himself, also in the exact same paper, writes a similar article saying, hey guys, you know, all these green policies, all this net zero stuff, well, we should probably actually keep it because it's a pretty good idea. Voters are overwhelmingly in favor of environmental protections in a lot of the net zero stuff and a lot of the green energy stuff. We should probably go in that direction. And I said this would happen. I said this would happen, and it is. It took 48 hours. It took 48 hours after the loss of them losing Uxbridge. Well, not losing Uxbridge, of them winning Uxbridge by the most narrowest of margins. The most narrowest of margins. It was 460 something votes. I think they won it by. They narrowly win this tiny margin. And lots of Conservatives are putting this down to, oh, it was the ULEZ, it was the ULEZ, it was the ULEZ that did it. That's what managed us to hold on to this. So now we need to have a complete, concrete rethink of green policies and net zero. So before we go to talk more about this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and an official link called Buy Me Coffee Week. Well, buy me coffee. And of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, there is the YouTube thank you button and the Pony Club down below. And of course, you can always help out the channel by just clicking the like and share button. But, oh boy, oh boy. Michael Gove. I have talked about before Michael Gove and my belief that Gove is playing the long game. I think he knows that for the past couple of Tory leadership elections, he has played smart, and instead of putting himself up for the position, instead he has either taken the back seat, very much so, or as we saw in the initial one, he put forward Kimi Badenoch with the idea of using her as a test balloon to see how much is the Tory party really committed to the whole wokery arguments, the whole culture war arguments. Because prior to, of course, Kimi Badenoch's rise to fame through that one leadership election, all she talked about was culture war stuff. That's what she was known for. She was just culture war, culture war, culture war, culture war. That's all she was known for within the party. And now she's in a position, she's in, of course, Minister for Trade. She's not wowing a lot of people. She is really not wowing a lot of people. And as a lot of people have said from her outbursts, not only in number 10, but in committee meetings, they don't think that she can handle the pressure of someone who might be prime minister, who might be constantly under that pressure. Like I say, she hasn't wowed anyone with anything that she's really done. So she's seen once again as a bit of a failure. And if there is a cabinet reshuffle incoming, well, might she be shuffled out? It's a possibility. It's a big possibility. But as we said, who do you replace her with? It's not like there's a great depth of talent in the Tory party, to be honest. And if so, some of those people that do have the talent aren't really interested in going back into cabinet, especially looking like they're in for an absolute clobbering at the next general election. But because Gove supported her, he's been playing this game. He's been going to some very, very fringe conferences and playing this almost interesting game of, I'm not going to go all in for what you're saying, but I'm going to go and find the most reasonable argument I can, while I can almost simultaneously say, look, I'm not against green policies, but I have this seemingly reasonable criticism that I can deploy if anyone should say that you're against green policies. But if they do push too hard, well, I can obviously retreat back and say, hey, I'm not against green policies. I'm just questioning some of them about how we do them. Now, I've said this again before on our Saturday morning walk. If you compare Labour to the UK, which a lot of conservative journalists have been doing, saying that, Labour are going to fall apart themselves over this question. Not really. There is no big discussion like what you are seeing going on in the Tory party about green policies, about net zero. Now, ULEZ is a different kettle of fish, where they're saying, well, maybe we should slow it down. Maybe we should look at how this is rolled out. Maybe we should look at the information that we're putting out and how this is done. Because here's the thing, ULEZ is not a Sadiq Khan creation. It is a creation of Boris Johnson, and it was the condition by Grant Shapps that Sadiq Khan roll out ULEZ to the outer London boroughs for him to be able to get more money for transport for London. Meanwhile, of course, the Conservative mayor of Birmingham was basically, who also has a ULEZ scheme in sort of the city centre of Birmingham, basically asked for the same. Can I have some more money for Birmingham transport? Of course, Grant Shapps goes, there you go. Meanwhile, Sadiq Khan asked the same thing. He has to roll out ULEZ before he even gets access to that money. So, as you can see, ULEZ and the truth behind it isn't really what the Tories are honestly putting forward. And yet, many are using it as an excuse to try and say, well, we need to ditch net zero. We need to ditch these green policies. And meanwhile, you've got Michael Gove, who I think probably is the most dangerous person in the room. Because, well, when you've got someone who is playing the middle ground, making what appears to be a very reasonable argument, but in reality, when they're shall we say, when push comes to shove, you don't know really where they're going to land. I think they're very dangerous indeed, especially when it comes into politics, because you don't really know where Gove would come down on this. Net zero can't become a crusade, but I'm for green policies. Just, let's not turn this into, a zealous crusade, people. Comes across as, I'm Mr. Reasonable. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. I'm not against green policies, but... And that's where I think Michael Gove comes in on this. And that's where you are seeing this argument now popping up in the Tory party. Michael Gove, somewhere in the middle, appearing to be the reasonable middleman, while you've got the anti-green Conservatives, the net zero scrutiny group and so on, saying that we need to ditch the net zero policies. We need to ditch all these green policies that we came up with. Meanwhile, of course, you've got the green Tories on the other side saying, actually, no, that's a dumb idea. We really shouldn't be ditching these policies. We actually need to commit to these policies and actually start doing them. So, of course, as always, definitely right on this one. It's going to be a summer of Tories arguing over net zero and green policies. And this will probably continue, at least, if not for the next month or so, if not for the next couple of weeks, because, like I say, the Tories on holiday, what else have they really got to argue about at the moment, except, well, this. We'll see what happens when they come back into Parliament, if this still remains a key fixture, or whether they decide it was just a summer spat. But one of the things that Michael Gove says in the article that I kind of find quite funny, that was a huge backlash to these net zero policies. It was below 500 votes, and yet that somehow a serious backlash, which means the UK should no longer commit to net zero or green policies. So, yeah, very, very, very disingenuous when you consider, again, Lib Dems and, of course, Greens picking up quite a number of votes as well. Especially the Green Party, which, remember, if those votes had gone to Labour, the Labour would have won and it would have been a clean sweep. But hey, that's the conversation for another time. But as always, thank you very much for watching today. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.